Alright, Misfits number 6 just wrapped up. I just finished watching and I have some thoughts on the event as a whole.
He's done it from time to time. Just a bit of...
From the United Kingdom, the Nightmare. Hey!
Alright, so I wanted to start off by saying this card was a lot better than I thought it would be. I honestly wasn't expecting the most out of this card in comparison to the other Misfits events, but I was really impressed with how these fights went, and I wish that we got some more promotion for this event as a whole. I feel like this was the least amount of promotion Misfits gave towards an event, and there really was not a lot of hype for it, but everyone who watched it seems to be happy with how it went. I wasn't going to talk about the two prelim fights, but after what happened with Chase Demore in that fight, I feel like I have to address it really quick. I have no idea what was going on there. He knocked bro out and then went full MMA UFC style and just started wailing on Stevie Knight for no reason. He could have had an easy win and he deservingly lost the fight by disqualification. I don't know if we're going to see Chase Demore again. Well, I guess we'll find out. But the first fight on the main card was Kimbo Slice Jr. versus OJ Rose. And I thought this was a pretty good fight for the most part. It felt pretty competitive. OJ Rose was winning this fight and it looked like it was going in his direction, but I do think it was an early stoppage, 100%. I wish we could have seen this fight go on because there's a good chance he would have ended up with the finish anyway, but it would have been more deserved and it would have just made the win that much more credible, but not a bad way to start off this event. The next one was a fight that I really enjoyed, which was Minikon versus Jake the Viking. It's good to see two heavyweights step into Misfits because I feel like this division as a whole has been slacking. There's not too many contenders in the heavyweight division, so it's good to see them bring more guys in. And the fight was very close. It was back and forth. I just wish that there was more cardio for this fight. Both guys gassed out early and from there the technique kind of went out the window and they were gassed and towards the end of the fight had nothing left in them. But I was impressed with both fighters. This was Jake the Viking's first time boxing and I really hope we get to see him again because if he continues to improve and improves his cardio, he could be really good in this scene. So I hope to see both guys back on Misfits soon. And the fight did end in a draw, which I do think is the right call. I had it 2 rounds each and think it was the right decision. Up next on the card was Uncle Pizza versus Yuddy Gang TV. I had never heard of either of these two guys before this fight, and I think the fight overall had huge potential. Definitely have skills and have been working in the gym, but the amount of clinching in this fight really kind of made it disappointing. I wish there was less clinching. Uncle Pizza kind of was the one initiating the clinch most of the time, and I think the judges got this one wrong. I think Yuddy Gang TV won this fight, but overall I am excited to see these two step into the ring because this division also needs more competition because I feel like the only two guys we talk about at this weight are Waleed Sharks and Dean the Great. Speaking of Waleed Sharks, his fight was up next against iPop and Waleed Sharks had a dominant win against a guy who was not bad. He was no scrub and Waleed Sharks went in there and did his thing with the knockout in the second round. Very impressive win here by Waleed Sharks, and it is time for that rematch. The fight everybody wants to see, Dean the Great versus Waleed Sharks 2. I understand they've been building it. They didn't make the rematch right away, and I actually think that was a good decision, but the time is now. That fight will be huge. It's the one everyone wants to see. I'm ready for it. The co-main for this event was Chris Avila versus Paul Bamba, and this was another dominant victory for Chris Avila. We all know he is close with Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz actually got kicked out mid-fight for throwing a water bottle at Chase Demore. That whole scene was pretty interesting. But for Chris here, just absolutely dominated the fight. He is someone I'd like to see return on Misfits. I'd like to see him fight some of the contenders in the scene. He is definitely skilled and he brings a pretty good promotion to the scene with his ties to Nate Diaz. Disappointing loss here for Paul Bamba. I know he's been kind of hyped in the scene. I never really knew too much about him, but I am seeing he's kind of getting flamed on social media for being worse than people thought. He didn't look terrible, but he definitely got outclassed here. Pretty good fight overall. In the main event for this card, JMX versus Le'Veon Bell. My prediction for this fight was Le'Veon Bell by 3rd round knockout. He didn't get the knockout, but he won by decision. And I was really impressed with Le'Veon Bell's performance here. JMX showed that he had heart, but he was just not on the same level. I like how he opened in the first round. He stuck out his jab. He was throwing it out consistently. But as the fight went on and he got more tired, he kind of threw out the game plan of keeping him at distance with the jab. And that's kind of where everything went wrong. Le'Veon Bell started to take over. He was dictating the pace of the fight and he started landing big shots. And JMX kind of just became concerned with defense at that point. He got the big cut above his eye, and they even almost stopped the fight. This is definitely not the end of JMX. We will see him again. He can still hang with some of the top contenders at this weight class. I thought this was a big step up in competition for him. It was a little too soon to go from Ginty to Le'Veon Bell, because we know Le'Veon Bell's power. We know he's been in this sport now for a bit. So I think JMX needs to bring down the levels just a little bit, get another win under his belt, and we'll see where he goes from there. For Le'Veon Bell, he called out Logan Paul after his fight, and he called out KSI as well. I kind of want to see that Logan Paul fight now, because we haven't seen Logan fight since the Floyd Mayweather fight, which is a good amount of time ago. This would be a good competitive fight, because Le'Veon Bell is a guy who's been consistent in boxing now for 3 fights, and I think it'd be competitive, and I think the promotion would be there. It's what Le'Veon wants. It could be on Misfits. I'd like to see it. I say set it up. We got the Kingpin tournament tomorrow and Tank versus Garcia. So lots more videos to be made, lot more fights to be watched. Subscribe for more boxing updates and content. The support is much appreciated. Thank you for watching. Peace.